Yeah, I think the role of the student activist is to conscientize their fellow students to, you know, not just to rise up, but I think the first step is just being conscious that there's a problem. Because that's one thing that I'm getting around. Let's talk about campus because that's what we've been talking about. Let's talk about roads. For some people, it doesn't register that there's something wrong. That we're in a post-colony and we're still referring to a university in the post-colony by a colonial person. That is the only place I can think of. That is the only post-colony that I can think of where that situation finds itself. Yeah. Everywhere in a post-colony, these things happen. People question their history. People relook the history books and are like, I can't trust that book. He was a racist. You know, people will tell you, oh, where's the history? Give me a book where it says that, Cecil John Rose did that. I can't give it to you because I don't trust the source. The guy was deeply problematic. I can't trust that guy. And I have to now justify my pain, using this guy who also in that process, me holding this book is a deeply, problematic thing. So, we just need to conscientize people as students.
Yeah, I know it sounds to create more awareness.
Yeah, definitely, most definitely.
It may seem like a bit pessimistic, but is there an incentive to be conscious? Do you understand what I'm saying?
That's where the problem comes.
There's an incentive not to be conscious.
Yeah.
And to come out of university and be a commodity, be an accountant, whatever you want to do.
Most people prefer that actually.
Yeah,
but isn't it a question of morals though? And as a moral person, how do you find satisfaction at working at Goldman Sachs?
There's a huge
the paycheck.
You're going to get a nice paycheck.
No, but that is not.
You're making.
No, but it's not a moral thing.
The thing is,
you're
making a huge assumption that people have morals.
Yeah.
I'm honest.
I'm working on the assumption that that human beings can find it in themselves.
That's not attitude being tested with things like using your wage, and yes, currency is a Western thing, but you have to get paid so you can feed your kids because you're part of that game.
No, of course. What I'm saying is that I have a problem with someone perpetuating a system that is deeply problematic without questioning it. I think we don't want. I don't think anyone is calling for people to rise up and burn tires and what we're calling for as a student activist. I think what you should sort of be thinking about is just people to be conscious and to know that it can be
be conscious of what exactly.
And to stipulate what the alternative is, because if you tell people, not majority, but if you are explaining to people whether they're part of the oppressed group or the privileged group, and you're telling them to be conscious that there is a problem and asking them to actively reject the situation that they are in, even if it is dire, out of sheer fear for the unknown, they will look at you and go, you know what, I would rather stop because I know what this is like and I know how to navigate. So as much as you can enlighten the students, yes, Cecil John Rhodes was horrible, you're suffering under the fact that you have to walk under this arch every day. What is the alternative and what does that look like and how is that better than the way that they exist now?
But also, a tiny percent of the South African population has adequate space or luxury to be thinking about these issues. Again, we talked about that huge vacuum that exists where the rest of the 50 million people living in South Africa have to find that 120 rand to take home every single day. So we can sit here and we can discuss till we're blue in the face, but why?
This in itself is a very elitist.
Exactly, and why?
Because it's a very elitist, it's a deeply problematic.
We benefit from the corporate structure. So I'm saying again, what's the incentive to be conscious? I enjoy this space.
Exactly.
I enjoy chilling, getting drunk every Saturday night, getting baked every Sunday.
Yeah.
Why would I want to change that?
That's true.
That's just the reality.
That's where the problem. Inherently prejudice there for you to be comfortable in that space.
It is prejudice, but again, I'm gonna say when you are in a position of prejudice, it's difficult to see it, and B, why would you want to change?
No, but okay, now that we're saying you are aware that there's issues, but you're still happy there.
Well, I wouldn't be aware that there's issues because I'm too content to even look around.
No, but the thing is, what we're saying, we're working on the assumption that the student activist conscientizes the person, and then the person is now conscious of their position in society. And then it is up to that person to be like, do I continue living this
But there
life?
isn't a next step presented, that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
There's no, as a black person walking down Prince Alfred Street is an act of violence, I'm going to stand there and go, okay, what do I do with that? Now I know I'm being violentized. Now what? There is no next step, and
Well,
there
the thing
has
is,
to be for us.
I think it's there. I think it's there. We just have to sort of find it. I think it's in that process
But
of
you want the conscious people to give that, as much as it's frustrating. You want the conscious to tell the conscious why. It's like,
look. I mean, but you also need to understand that when you come in and tell someone, you know, you're being oppressed, this is what you should do about it. It's taking away that person's agency, and you also need to realize that people need to free themselves. And that's why, you know, the South African moment was a really weird one, because, you know, you had the oppressor saying, I'm giving you freedom. You didn't have the oppressed saying, hey, I'm taking my freedom. That's why it's a problem. It's a deeply problematic thing. And that's why I'm saying that the student activist primarily just conscientizes people, and then people will take up their agency. You know, that is really important.
I really enjoy where this conversation is going in terms of saying what's the next step. But I think we shouldn't be worrying about the next step, because it's really not my responsibility how you react to that. I feel like my job is to say, here are the issues, do what you will.
But like, can I just pose a question? Can I pose a question?
Yeah, no, what you decide to do then, how you decide to internalize that information is your choice, but I've done all I can. I've given you the agency now.
But I mean, what I'm playing around with the sort of idea of the student activist isn't just, you know, like the normal student. It can also be.
And who is a normal student?
Exactly. I mean, like a quote unquote a normal student. You know, it can also be someone who is in a position of power of sort. So I mean, I'm looking at our media institutions. I'm looking at our lecturers. You know, like they know that there's something. I think everyone sort of can ascertain that there's something wrong here. And I'll pose this question to, you know, like the Campus Vibes crew, like, what is happening? You know, like, I can see that you guys are conscious. What's happening? Like, why aren't we seeing Campus Vibes saying, you know, like, we're gonna use the power that we have, because, you know, we do events for, you know, management.
We're fulfilling exactly what you said. These roundtables exist to allow the student to read. This isn't an SRC page. I feel like that's not productive, but hopefully through these and through exposure to different opinions, you then go to your own community, whatever that is, and if the conversation continues, maybe not. If you are then more conscientized, I don't know what the word is, but if you are then more conscious,
I'm
like exposing to it, you know, then that is the very point. When I say next step, I'm essentially meaning the next step could be BSM. The next step could be, yes, you believe this, and I'm so glad you think so. Let's all go to DASO next week, because those people have petitions that we can sign, and maybe that is as active as you can possibly be. But there has to be, I know that I'm being violent, and violence is being done to me. But essentially, you do need to give the conscious the tools in which to act however they feel like it on that consciousness, and that is not what's being provided.
True. I hear exactly what Sam is saying. As in, there's only one form of being an activist on campus.
Well, I mean, that's what
it's not becoming a grayscale. It's either you're active on campus or you're not. How do I now?
That's what I'm saying. That it's I like this idea.
My belief is that there isn't much of a platform.
Well, people create platforms. I think this is an excellent platform for someone to just vent, and, you know, you get like a radical black person and just asserts their blackness. You know, I think it's a platform. As you said, it's not an SRC page. So I mean, we need platforms where people can just.
But wouldn't there be more platforms if we had an opportunity to politicize the SRC?
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
I think he's onto something.
Okay, the reason why I'm saying this is because, like, you know, as it is, there's issues that are raised, right?
Sure.
And then we hold the SRC accountable, but we don't actually know where the SRC stands on certain issues. Because the thing is, yes, the SRC is great. No, I'll give an example.